Hey everybody, what's up? Now, you probably just read the title and are very close to clicking off of the video, but hear me out. I have not lost yet this year. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But we're doing the white girl trade, which if you're wondering what that means, it is basically I am holding a couple stocks at the moment that are very heavily associated stereotypically with white women. Now you're asking yourself, what does that mean? I am currently holding Lululemon. Should be fairly self-explanatory. Lulu, I think, will actually be going through a bit more pain fairly soon, but I want to get in early so that I have it when it is on its way back up. I will be averaging down, but we'll see how it goes. Next, hear me out. Keurig Dr. Pepper. Women be drinking coffee, and they love Dr. Pepper. That's all I'm going to say. That one, they just announced they are splitting their company again. In my opinion, at least one of those two companies that result in the split will appreciate very well over the next longer term period. That is not going to be a swing trade. That is a long term hold. They also just had a massive acquisition, which I think will probably be pretty big moving forward. And it should just overall do fairly well. I think it's at a good price at the moment. And last but not least, Snapchat. Snapchat is the number one. I've been actually trading it for probably over a year now, I want to say, but bought it early this year, sold it nice profit, bought it again a couple months ago, sold it decent, like 15-20% profit, and I just recently bought back in right around the low $7 range, and I think it is a home run. I think it is going to do very well. Even $8-9, that's an easy 15% gain. You really can't lose there, in my opinion. Which again, would never tell anybody to buy anything. Personal opinions here, education and entertainment purposes only, just to be clear. Next, we're going to go into the not really related to white women, but I'm just kind of grouping them all together because it's stocks I bought recently. And I'm going to get into my chart and my portfolio and everything in a moment here, but I'm just talking about these first. Sweet Green, loosely associated. I believe they do restaurants as well as food products, but maybe health focused, salads, stuff like that, you know? Um, I think it's at a good price. I actually just bought and sold it and then bought it again. Bought right around $8 a share on a pretty big drop they had a couple days ago, which was off of nothing, by the way. They dropped off of nothing. Their CFO is retiring and they dropped 8 or 9%. If you ever see something like that where a CFO retires and a company drops, unless it's like Mark Zuckerberg is leaving Meta and it drops 20%. That I understand. But when the CFO of a less than 1 billion market cap company leaves and they drop 8% because of it, it's usually pretty solid to just buy that dip. So I did pop back up to just barely, I think it might have hit $9 actually. Sold it. It dropped back down to 850 today and I bought back in with the same exact shares that I sold. So looking fairly good there. I already have some profit locked in on it, and I think I have a pretty solid price. So, and then finally, Kava, which is in a very similar. I'm trying to find it here on my portfolio, which is completely whited out, but we're getting into it. We're getting into it. Kava, similar situation, fast casual restaurants. Are they in any way seriously related to stereotypical white women? Not really, but maybe you can play it that way if you want. But either way, I've monologued for 4 minutes and 55 seconds. It is time to get into the actual portfolio. Saw a ton of growth over the past 12 to 14 days since my last video came out. Updated thumbnail too, by the way, 41,000, actually slightly over it. But anyway, let's get into it. So, looking at the snapshot of the portfolio today, I know I have a ton going on here, and if you are watching for the first time, which I'm hoping many people are based on my awesome clickbait title, um, been working this out for about 2 years now, expanding, showing what I want to track. I have a couple other tabs here, which I will eventually get into, but 41,400 at the end of the day today. We are up just under 52% right here for the year. I have a whole bunch of notes here, which I could go through, but yeah, well, I guess I will. Uh, just to give some backstory, this is my first year of fully actively trading this current strategy that I use, which, if you don't know what that is, I have two specific videos detailing that strategy. And I will kind of talk about it a little bit in this video as well. But didn't start fully trading using my strategy until about early this year, January, February, and didn't ramp it up to a significant portion of my portfolio until around April, when we saw that huge drop in the market towards the end of the month. Um, so I gave a little bit of an update here as well, and including the part where I say Newegg rocked my world. I lost about 15% of my year's gains just on Newegg dropping, but averaging down is a beautiful thing. If you don't know what that is, watch someone else's video on it, because it will save your life, or ruin it if you do it in the wrong stock. But anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted to really say there. So just under 52% for the year, doing very, very well compared to the market's current return of just over 12% right here. Feeling pretty good. 2025 returns $9,000, which is excellent. For me, right now, I'm averaging about $1,000 a month. However, it is important to point out that, let me think of where I would have it. Most of that comes from just a couple of months. So I had a big jump in January, which this page is kind of chaotic as well. Will I make this easier to look at? Probably not, because this is mostly just for me to track my own portfolio growth. But this shows growth including deposits. Now, I deposit about twice a month from the money I make working, which I am a financial analyst at a fairly large company. So technically, I have a little bit of credibility, although in no way is any of this investment advice or recommendations, just to be clear. But had a big jump in January this year, another one in April with the market crashing, as well as in May, where that is when I started my job and began depositing a lot more money. And then since then, we've just been seeing pretty solid double digit, just right around there numbers. This is my target. So for the rest of this year, I'm estimating I'll add about 10% to my total portfolio, again, including deposits, um, per month. And then I go all the way down to 2028 here. So next year, I'm revising down the estimate. Now, I'm probably going to change these at some point too. This is just very early preliminary. But next year, I'm hoping for around 6%, because you got to remember also that the larger the portfolio is, the less of a percentage deposits will have on it. So like right now, the reason these are so high is because I'm depositing $2,000 or $3,000 a month um, into this account. And that doesn't mean that I make a whole ton of money. I'm just out of college and live with my parents. So I don't have any rent at the moment, which is why I'm able to invest so much. Just to be clear, I'm not some kind of phenomenal, super successful. That's what the investment account is for, hopefully. But so ended August at 39.4. So in 12 days, roughly, if we look here, adding right around 2,000 in value. Only one of that was a deposit, because I get paid every 2 weeks. So, oh, it's Friday. I got paid today. Didn't even think of it. So actually, this should be 42,400, but I did not put the money in yet. Totally slipped my mind there. But let me think of where I'm at here. Anyway, let's get into the stocks. This is going to be a long video, by the way. So starting out, we are just going to go through the whole portfolio here. This is going to be a full update. I already kind of detailed the white girl trade. So if you want to hear about the actual reasons of why I like those stocks and what I'm looking at, you got to wait till I get to them. So Yeah, that's all we got. Snapchat, starting out. Snapchat, um, let's get into it. Let's get into it. By the way, I do zero editing. I do not care. That's just how I operate. And yeah, so first of all, chart looks fantastic in my opinion. If you don't like technical trading, then you're in luck because I do enjoy fundamentals as well. However, honestly, technicals, if you keep it simple, it really works a lot of the time, almost all of the time. So we're seeing a little bit of a wedge forming here with Snapchat. Right now, we're finding a bottom support. They just got killed on what was honestly not that bad of an earnings report, at least in my opinion. But looking at right around the $7 bottom here, they did actually dip below $7 a couple times towards the 690 area. But I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. I'm personally expecting it to reach back up towards the top of this wedge towards $9. When that happens, I will most likely sell at least half of my position, take a good bit of profit, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But one thing that I am very big on is realizing solid profit when I have it. If you make a good example is Sweet Green, which I mentioned earlier. I bought and sold it very, very quickly. The reason I did that was it was up 9% in 2 days. If you make those kind of returns in 2 days and you don't take some kind of profit, what are you doing? The S&P averages 10% a year, roughly. If you make that in 2 days, that's pretty solid. That's all I got to say on the matter. But anyway, Snapchat, the chart looks beautiful. I'm not going to get into the fundamentals with them because they are solid. Um, they have new products coming out very shortly. They have over 100 million daily, or maybe right around 100 million daily active users just in North America, I believe, which is massive. Um, it speaks for itself, in my opinion. And it is down a good bit from where it used to be. This is also, just to be clear, the where are we? The logarithmic chart. So really the chart should look like this if it is the true regular chart, but for patterns and trading, logarithmic works a whole lot better with the technical side of things. Which hopefully the one person that I don't want to hear me saying that isn't watching this video, but we'll see if I get a "I told you so" text message at some point. Um, anyway, Snapchat looks fantastic. I love it. Next, this is kind of a sleeper. If you go on to StockTwits, which I don't know how many people on here are actually following me from StockTwits back in the day, 6+ months ago when I would post on there all the time. But Gartner, IT is the ticker. I personally think that the chart looks fantastic. This is a super long term trend, though, where multiple times over the past 20 years, sorry, three times in basically 25 years, they have reached this area. They just hit it again. If they go below this line, which obviously is a possibility, then not great. However, if they don't, I think it is going to be a fantastic little trade. I'm hoping, which right now the chart does look pretty solid. Um, boy, I need to make that look a little. Well, that's not too bad. It does look like they had a little bit of a gap up on the day today, which is great. They are at a loose resistance line. I wouldn't really call this area resistance too much, but hopefully we can see a gap up to right around 300, even just the high 200s. Um, that's kind of what I'm looking for in this, which would be great. And I would probably take profit pretty early. The reason I'm in this is because they are very, very solid, stable, um, and they're at a fantastic price right now, which is unbeatable. Unbeatable. Whenever you find a large, healthy company that is at a solid price like Google earlier this year, right around, I don't know when they were fairly undervalued, but Beginning of this year, I was holding Google for a while. If you ever find a mega cap that is significantly undervalued compared to the peers, which for Google is Apple, Microsoft, um, you almost always buy it. It's generally worth it, especially when it's those kind of companies. Anyway, next up, Duolingo. Duolingo is a bit more recent. I just got into it. However, it is already one of my highest traded stocks. And actually, let me get into this first. I do track every single transaction I do now. So this is probably going to be very small and difficult to see for a lot of people. And okay, I can zoom in. So laptops are great like that. So I started buying right around 330s, average down as it started dropping. And it just kept going. And right now my average is 303, which isn't too bad. It popped up above that a couple days ago. And by a couple days ago, I believe I mean yesterday, I think. Um, and hit 311. I sold a couple shares, and this is mostly just a risk thing. So I am only returning a little over 1% here, which sounds like why would you sell? It's for risk. So before I sold this group of 5 shares here, which you could see whenever there's a minus, it means I sold. And if there's a plus in front of it, it's buying, if that makes sense. Um, I had over $3,000 in the stock. Now, I have that in Snapchat right now, but Snapchat I'm incredibly confident on. Duolingo has been dropping very aggressively, as you can see, going from 330s to 270s. So I want to take profit early and I want to de-risk. So the reason I bought these shares here, which now I'm okay, I didn't move anything. The reason I bought these shares here is to average down. Now, my average is 303. It goes above that. I want to sell off those averaging down shares to reduce my risk. There's less money, which means less risk. Take the profit that I have, secure it. It's in cash now. It's safer. And I still have, if we zoom back out here if it wants to work for me. I still have a significant amount in the stock to where when it continues to go up, I'll still make a good amount of money, but I have less downside risk now. If the stock continues dropping, I already sold 5 shares. So once it hits a point that I like, I'll buy back in with those 5 shares. It's a very, very good system. Highly recommend doing some research and making a system like that for yourselves. Um, Works out very well. Next up, Lululemon, which is the big fat loser right now. I'm looking to average down on this. However, I am worried about a price point for it, which I believe can be significantly lower than where we're at right now. Um, my cost average is 190, which is not great. If we look, started buying right around there, um, bought a bunch more shares at 198 because I thought it was about to start bouncing and instead it got destroyed on earnings. And I averaged down slightly at 167, which is just a little bit above where we're at now. And now I am waiting to put more in, which, just to be clear, at the moment, I do have 3,000 in cash and 6,000 in semi liquid bonds. So, which I could sell them at any point if I wanted to. So I am very much prepared to average down on whatever I need to, but Lululemon is looking like the best contender at the moment. So I did say earlier I was going to go into fundamentals. Honestly, I probably won't. Maybe in future videos, but I guess just assume that I have looked into the financials of these companies. If you look at my old videos, that is all I used to do is look through financials. Now when I make videos, I mostly just talk about I like them. And you can just assume that I looked into the financials. But anyway, we are seeing a parallel channel forming here with very high highs and very low lows. So hopefully it somehow finds support before we get to the 130 area. But that is kind of where it looks like Lulu is going, unfortunately, considering I already have a pretty good chunk of money in it. And you might be saying, why not sell now and wait for it to get there? The reason is because I'm let me think of something that doesn't make me sound stupid. The reason is because technically it could go up. How about that? It could continue going higher, which may happen, may not happen. But either way, I am fully ready and willing to average down once it hits that 130s area, if it hits that area. That's all you really need to know. Either way, the reason I'm in Lululemon, very fast growing company, very solid financials, very healthy position, um, very trendy. And I didn't mention this when I looked at Snapchat, but women be spending. That's all you need to know. They spend a lot of money. Um, yeah. Next up, Enphase. Enphase has been a sleeper for a while. I've been in it for a while. I'm up a good bit. It is the one thing I have on here that I have categorized as actively selling. And if we look at the cost basis, there is a roller coaster ride going on here. Um, Sorry, I keep clicking around so much. I get a little schizophrenic, but not actually. So, started buying in the 40s, bought down as it dropped through the 30s, all the way down to literally $30 a share, where I started buying in very heavily. Just popped back up recently. My average, as you can see, is 31.71, and started selling off as it went higher. My most recent sell was at 38. So currently it is at 37.63, if you can see all the way over here. But took a whole bunch of profit on this. Very happy with the way that it turned out. But now I am mostly, I think I'm going to probably sell about half of what I have currently once it hits a little bit above 40 and I like the price that it's at. And then I'm going to switch it over to my, let me go back, long-term section, which I will not be getting into today. Maybe next video, we'll see, maybe tomorrow. But it'll just take way too long to go over everything. So Enphase is in a very tight and very annoying channel at the moment. It's looking like it will head downwards. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I could kind of foresee it dropping back down to the bottom of this channel, which would be terrible. Coming back up, hitting this earnings report, and then breaking out, which would be cool if it happened, but hopefully we don't get to that point where it does go down to the 20s. Although, again, let me go back here. As we can see, I've already sold 140 shares of this, roughly. So would I be willing to buy back in 140 shares? Not really, because I sold all of them for profit, but I would be more than happy to buy in 50 more, double my position, average down once it hits that bottom band, and then go from there. But will that happen? Probably not. I think it's going to hold its value a little bit better, especially with rate cuts coming up. That will be huge for solar. Now we're going to speed through these last couple smaller ones because I just know that this video is going to be 25 minutes long. So TTD, Trade Desk, is unfortunately dropping very, very fast. I started buying in after it hit their earnings report in the beginning of August. Big drop right here. Sorry I'm zoomed out so much, but just to get the whole picture, let's actually switch to weekly. That'll make it a little easier to see. But basically, there is a support line here right around $44 a share, hoping to see it bounce there. We'll have to see this upcoming week. That'll probably be very important. But hoping it bounces at right around $44. If not, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough time. Let me just actually show it. But likely what is going to happen is this downwards channel that is semi-forming here will go all the way down to the low 30s. Now, if that happens, I really don't care. Mostly because, once again, averaging down, and I really don't have a ton in Trade Desk, although realistically there's only about a $1,700, well, yeah, dollar difference between that and my top stock at the moment. So there, I do have a lot of money in it actually, and I'm already down a good bit on it as well. But I think I'm going to set an order to buy right around 44.80 ish, 44.60 maybe. Probably adding another handful of shares, average down a little bit. And if it breaks down, then we're probably going to be in it for the long haul, which I'm perfectly fine with. This is another one very similar to Lululemon, where again, source, trust me, bro. But you could look into the financials yourself if you want to, but I already have. And it would take 12 hours of going through this video to do all these companies' financials. Um, very high growth. I think they're doing very well with innovation. They are competing against Google, um, which is pretty difficult for the most part, but they seem to be doing well. They're growing quickly. Their revenue, like percent gains, is very significant. So I think they're going to be doing just fine. Next up, Chewy, which I actually just bought into this week very recently, but basically just hit a nice little spicy spot on their chart, and I wanted to do a quick trade, which as of today, if I can get this back to automatic, it may have broken the chart the sort of wedge that I was looking at. I was hoping that it would bounce here and then head back up to right around $40, where I would then do a quick little snipe trade and sell it. But either way, Chewy's a solid company. I'm really not expecting anything too horrible to happen to it. Um, and dropping that much off of relatively decent earnings, I'm not really worried about it. If it does start going down again, don't have a ton in it and just got to average down. Um, Fresh Pet is shockingly similar to Chewy, but they are at a much creamier spot in their chart. Little channel forming here that hopefully will hold. If not, we may be seeing the price go way down to the 30s, which is possible. And again, got to be ready to average down there. I'm honestly looking for just a small, quick trade here. Probably maybe hitting 60. If we could get to, let me do this right here and get that to the higher band. Yeah, right around like 58, 59, this range, if I extend this out just a tiny bit. Will I sell all of it? Probably not, but maybe. And that's about it. Moving on, Kava and Sweet Green, I kind of already talked about, so I will just show the charts briefly. Kava is in a fairly solid downwards channel off of what I would consider to be not that bad of an earnings report. And this is like I want to say very high growth. I believe they're relatively new. Yeah, they just IPO'd about a year ago. Um, I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I do believe that if we see the top of this channel again, it'll be a very easy 30% ish gain on the trade. And that's what we're really looking for. Just easy trades. Next, Sweet Green is in a very similar situation, except they're in a steeper downtrend that is happening with the channel forming here. Hopefully we see some bouncing. Everybody likes to see a little bit of bouncing. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. No more elaboration. But yeah, that's about it. So if you've somehow made it this far in the video, which I'm going to predict 7 people have, optimistically, that's about all I got. Let me think. That's about it. I like to do screenshots of just this page and then track every time I get an all-time high, which today I did at 52.4% gain for the day, with a 40% gap versus the S&P, which is fantastic. Very happy with the results. And other than that, I think that is all I want to talk about. So ending off this one, $41,400. The goal is to get to 50,000 by the end of the year. Next year, we want to see 100,000. And I think that's all I got. So if you made it this far, you should probably just subscribe at that point if you've listened to me talk for that long. And that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time.